Big names like Joyce Meyer, Jesse Duplantis, Lance Wallnau, and Jack Graham are pulling the plug on their programming contracts with Daystar Television. Yep, they're saying goodbye to their spots on the network. Now, Jesse Duplantis has said his decision came straight from divine inspiration. Basically, he felt like God was leading him to make this move. But there's also some chatter that Jesse might have a bigger plan up his sleeve, like maybe buying the Word Network, which happens to be a rival station. On the other hand, not everyone is leaving quietly. People like Baruch Corman from Love Israel and Laura Lynn Tyler Thompson are being pretty straightforward about why they're cutting ties. They're pointing fingers at the leadership at Daystar and the SA allegations that have been floating around. For them, it's not just a business decision, it's about taking a stand on what they believe is right. Some other big exits include The Winning Walk by Ed Young, Touching Lives by James Merritt, Dr. Wonder's Workshop, Abundant Life by Teradez, Danette Crawford, Grace for Today by Purdue, On the Living Edge by Mark Carana, and Pursuit TV by Russell Johnson. It feels like a mass exodus, doesn't it? Some of the folks leaving Daystar are choosing to stay silent about the real reasons behind their decision. Sure, the allegations against Daystar's leadership might be a big factor, but they're not saying much. Maybe because they don't want to burn bridges with such a big name in Christian broadcasting. It's tricky, right? Leaving quietly might protect relationships, but it also leaves room for speculation. People like Lance Wallnau haven't exactly taken the criticism lying down. When folks called him out for not speaking up against the SA at Daystar, he didn't just brush it off. Instead, he fired back in a video claiming that the criticism against him was driven by what he called cancel culture demons.
I get people that are mad at me because I'm not going out and being an authority on the latest scandal in the church. And so I go from being, we loved you Lance up until now because you're not doing this, you're not doing that. Why won't you do this? Why won't you say something like that? Well, you know, and sometimes it comes down to whether God authorized you. Evidently, a whole bunch of people don't ever ask God if they're supposed to open their yap. They just talk. Well, in my business, which goes all the way from, the Trump administration out to a spontaneous podcast or something like this, I measure what I say and what I talk about because God doesn't authorize me to throw my own opinion out as so everyone else so boldly feels authorized to do on every subject. So when IHOP had a problem, people were mad at me because I wasn't commenting on IHOP. Then it was when IHOP to what was first, it was what's the string of this stuff? It was IHOP, and then it went to somewhere was in there in Gateway, but before that was Ravi Zacharias. But then it went to Morningstar, and then Morningstar, and then of course Michael Brown's involved with some, and then it's Daystar. And every controversy, I have to do a kind of a walk out on the runway to pass the test as to whether or not I'm still acceptable. There are people that will just, Lance, we really loved you up until now. Now we hate you. And here's what I want to talk about, because you don't talk about everything, or because you don't come out with the opinion people want on what they want to talk about. You're dealing with charismatic cancel culture. I'm warning you. I'm telling you something. The spirit of cancel, that Marxist spirit that causes you to have the fear of the mob, is just as strong on the right as on the left. The moment you walk out, the moment you start thinking about, well, should I say something because the mob might get mad at you, you're not in freedom of speech. It's just a different variation of the same demon. Some of you are still triggered because I mentioned a scandal and I'm not going to talk more about it. Because I'm telling you, every scandal that happens, it's like a checkpoint. People come at me and challenge me or accuse me if I don't say what they want me to say about it. Sometimes the Lord just says, don't meddle with it. Don't comment unless you have a revelation that God gave you. You don't have to render an opinion.
If you ask me, I think that Lance Wallnau doesn't want to speak out about the various scandals in the church, including those involving well-known names, because it's his circle, or the circle he wants to remain in, and he doesn't want to step on anyone's toes. Let's be real, one doesn't need a divine revelation to address something as serious as SA. Within the church or a Christian organization like Daystar, speaking up about these issues is a matter of integrity and accountability, especially for someone with a platform like his. Lance argues that he only speaks on matters when God authorizes him to, and he frames his silence as obedience rather than avoidance. But here's the thing, silence can often come across as complicity when someone with influence chooses not to address wrongdoing, especially when it's as serious as SA. It sends a message, intentional or not, that they're more concerned about protecting relationships or reputations than standing for what's right. His claim about being measured in his responses and avoiding charismatic cancel culture raises some valid points about the dangers of mob mentality, but it also feels like a deflection. Yes, we should be cautious about reacting out of fear of public opinion. However, that doesn't mean staying silent on clear moral failings, especially when victims are looking for accountability from the church community. Joyce Meyer has at least set a better example in all this. Unlike others who've left Daystar quietly or defensively, she's paused her programs to allow space for proper investigations into the SA allegations. That's a responsible move, showing that she understands the importance of accountability while still prioritizing the integrity of her ministry. It's a step in the right direction. As these major names exit Daystar, the network is clearly scrambling to fill the gaps in its programming lineup. Jesse Duplantis' Sunday morning slot, for example, has been replaced by Joni Table Talk, hosted by Joni Lamb. Lance Wallnau's show has been swapped out for reruns of the late Charles Stanley. Hank and Brenda Kunneman's program has been replaced with James Robison's show, while Jack Graham's spot is now filled by Hagee Ministries. In an earlier statement from Daystar, they mentioned that these departures are a normal occurrence within the organization, and that they are ready to replace those who are leaving. Here are the two statements they have shared. The Daystar network carries approximately 100 third-party programmers. Historically, every year, Daystar has experienced a turnover of a small percentage of its programmers for business and economic reasons unique to their ministries. This year is consistent with past years. As a rule, Daystar does not comment on its internal dealings with programmers. Nonetheless, Daystar can confirm that Jack Graham, Jesse Duplantis, Lance Wallnau, Hank, and Brenda Kunneman did not renew for 2025. Our information indicates these non-renewals were made for reasons totally unrelated to Daystar. Most of them have confirmed this publicly. After Joyce Meyer left, they released the following statement on their platform. "We love and appreciate Joyce Meyer and appreciate her desire to see closure in this situation. Her time slots will be filled by programmers from our waiting list, ensuring our mission remains uninterrupted. We have it on good report that law enforcement is concluding their evaluation of the facts with no charges, and we are confident these false allegations will soon be put to rest. Daystar remains steadfast in our commitment to preaching the gospel. We refuse to operate in fear, trusting God fully, and standing on the assurance that truth is prevailing." Meanwhile, Linda Rary, a retired FBI agent, responded to Daystar's statement that law enforcement is concluding the case. She pointed out that the Colleyville PD has confirmed that the CSA investigation is still open. Rary also pointed out key details about Texas law that are crucial to understanding this case. Under the Texas Penal Code, the statute of limitations for CSA cases is 20 years, beginning when the victim turns 18. That means this particular case could remain active for another 29 years if necessary. Furthermore, in cases where the abuser has not been identified, there is no statute of limitations at all. This means that while Daystar claims that the case closure is near, the legal framework allows the investigation to continue until justice is fully pursued. For now, the case remains active and the outcome is far from settled. That's the update we have for you today. We'll keep you posted as this story develops. If you enjoyed this video, don't forget to give it a thumbs up, and we'd love to have you join us for the next one. See you soon!